All right, for our math warm-up today, you are going to be using the estimation method to place the decimal point in each quotient. So go ahead and number your boards from 1 to 4 or paper and complete those problems. Pause your video, come on back, check and see how you did. All right, so let's take a look here. If we have 98 and 7/10 divided by 9 and 4/10. Our decimal point should be between the 0 and the 5 to give us 10 and 50 hundredths. Number 2, we have 10 and 8/10 divided by 2 and 25 hundredths. Our decimal point should go between the 4 and the 8 to give us 4 and 80 hundredths. Then we have for number 3, 201 and 2/10 divided by 3 and 2/10. Decimal goes between the 2 and the 8, giving us a final answer of 62 and 875 thousandths. And last but not least, 27 and 68 hundredths divided by 8 and 65 hundredths. Decimal goes between the 3 and the 2, giving us a final answer of 3 and 20 hundredths. How did you do? Okay, our math message today involves taking a look at this shape right here. And the first thing that I want you to do is, what is the shape called? Hopefully all of you are thinking, or you wrote down the word rectangle. The next thing that I would like for you to do is list as many names for it as you can besides rectangle. What can you come up with? Go ahead, pause your video, see if you can come up with as many as possible. Hopefully you came up with, of course, rectangle, also quadrilateral, trapezoid, and parallelogram would be some other names for that shape. Down here toward the bottom, I wanted to kind of remind you of what we used with our last lesson to help categorize some of the shapes as we went through the hierarchy. So this is just a reminder of what you did on some of your assigned pages. So all rectangles are blank, but not all blank are rectangles would be an example of some of the strategies that we used in working through that hierarchy. So our lesson today is titled Property-Pandemonium. The reason for this lesson today is to practice placing shapes into categories using the mathematical hierarchy that we've been working with for a while now. We're also going to continue to use pictures and structures to solve problems. And how we're going to go about that is we're going to play a game called Property-Pandemonium. Before we go over how to play the game, we are going to look at using the hierarchy once again. So you'll notice that I have our quadrilateral hierarchy poster here on the far left with all of our definitions and whatnot. And then here in the middle, we have some shapes. And the reason I put this in here was so that you could see how sometimes shapes can take different routes, like this blue route here, or the green route, and sometimes end up in the same spot. So this is what your page is going to look like that you're going to be working on first today before playing your game. So notice that we have a hierarchy just like we've been using the past few lessons, with quadrilaterals being at the top. We're going to have a test property, and then we're going to determine, is that shape going to move to the trapezoids, or is it going to move to the kites area, or maybe it won't move at all. So on page 251 in your student math journal is this page that you will be completing and writing down what those test properties are. For example, I may decide that my test property for the first one, since it's quadrilaterals, is going to be 4 sides and 4 angles. And so if we look at the definition over here in our poster, we see that part of the definition right there. So we can use those as our test properties as we go to complete the hierarchy, showing how our shapes can move through the hierarchy itself. So let's take a look at our game, Property-Pandemonium. That's just fun to say, isn't it? We have our direction sheet is located here on the left side. These are what the game cards look like. And then this is our scoring sheet. So you'll notice that you're going to need one Property-Pandemonium card deck, which is going to be this right here. One Property-Pandemonium record sheet, which is right here. We need quadrilateral hierarchy poster, which is a little bit farther back in our video, so you can always go back to that and just pause it there. It is a 2-player game, and you're going to be drawing and naming quadrilaterals with certain properties. So the object of the game is to earn the fewest points, which is a little bit out of the ordinary when we talk about games. So let's look at the directions. So what's going to happen is you're going to use that deck of cards. You're going to shuffle them, of course, put them face down, and you're going to take turns. When it's your turn, you're going to draw one property card and one quadrilateral card. Record the information on the Property-Pandemonium record sheet. If you draw a wild card, you may choose a property or quadrilateral. So you'll notice it's got property here, quadrilateral here. This is where you're going to make your drawing. And then this is where you would come up with additional names for your shape. And then this is where the points are going to get recorded. So if we look farther down here, it says the record sheet, draw an example of the quadrilateral given on your quadrilateral card that has the property or properties listed on your property card. You may look at the quadrilateral hierarchy to help you. And then you're going to list all the names you can give the quadrilateral that you drew in the additional names column. Show your drawing and names to your partner. If your partner writes any additional names for the quadrilateral, add them to your record sheet. Your score is going to be the number of additional names that are recorded. You're going to play 3 rounds. So notice it's got round 1, round 2, round 3 on the record sheet. And down here at the bottom, we have an example of how you would record on your game sheet. So if this were round 1, the person drew a property card that says 4 right angles. And then they drew the quadrilateral trapezoid. So then this was the drawing that they made. And then the additional names that they came up with was quadrilateral, rectangle, parallelogram. So the fact that they came up with 3 additional names, then they get 3 points. So that is the game in a nutshell. And how to play it. So you will be playing this in class with your friends. So let's summarize today's lesson. A shape in a subcategory has all of the attributes of the shapes that are in the categories above it. Games like Property-Pandemonium can help gain a better understanding of quadrilateral properties and attributes. Tag, you're it. Now it's your turn.